I'm hereby calling to order the November 8th, 2021 meeting of the Committee of the Whole. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balstria.
Present.
Mr. DeJohn.
Here.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Monaco.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Mrs. Teresi.
Here.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss and update everyone on the aquatics and community project from the Parks and Recreation Department. We'll start the meeting off.
Good evening. A lot has occurred since the last time we had an update back at the end of September. And we wanted to kind of give you an update for a few minutes and then open up for questions. We have a bunch of slides we can go to with your questions and answer things that we can. We're at the getting towards the end of schematic design, our first of three design phases: schematic design, design development, and then doing the construction documents. So we're at sort of the end of the schematic design phase, where we're locking in the building program, the aquatics, and the site planning, and getting a detailed estimate from the construction manager, Higley. The first slide I have here is, since the last time, there's been a lot of things that we approached on this project, and some of them you mentioned the last time we were with you. Some of them were at the Sunningdale community meeting, our first community meeting, and then we also had a second community meeting with the city at large, everyone that wanted to participate. We had a lot of good comments, a lot of discussions, some good banter, and really trying to get to the best project and making sure that we are checking most of the boxes we can and making the best compromises we can to satisfy the main directives of the project. When we met with the Sunningdale Road residents, it was really important for privacy along their backyards, for themselves from shielding from the pool deck and the pool apparatus, and vice versa, quite frankly, looking, with our new walking paths, looking into backyards of sheds with ladders and garbage cans and different things as well. And the result, just to fast forward, is that they would like us to provide a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence for the 500 feet along that edge, and they would be happy and satisfied with the pool as its next door neighbor. Some of the residents stated concerns of seeing the 40-foot tower, and of course there are a lot of trees that exist there. We're going to try to keep as many of them as possible. We're going to plant some new trees, but generally by the conclusion of the meeting, they were all in favor of the project and the fence as kind of the major solution to satisfy their needs. They don't want their dogs out there looking at other dogs walking and barking back and forth, and just really giving them the privacy. We showed them that the pool is going to be used 3.5 months versus the ball fields, which was about 7 months of the year. So it really kind of put it into a position where they saw how many hours a day and how many months it would be utilized. And so it's less time out there, actually, that they would have any kind of disturbance. And then a couple of the residents that are further on the south, the woods, they've been there for a long time. They really want us to keep the woods as long as possible. So we're not actually going to touch the woods that are in that back area, which was labeled sort of as potential wetlands. We're not going to touch it. We're going to avoid that area. And then the stormwater detention is really important on the site, and we're going to try to maximize surface detention. And you'll see in the site plan how we're going to try to accommodate that. Maybe we can get 20 to 30% on the surface so that we can do less of the underground storage tanks, which on our project is about $600,000 to $700,000 of the cost. So we'd like to kind of mitigate that. From our conversations with you all, we gathered a lot of information the last time, and we tried to accommodate as much as we could. We did find a way to include a location for some senior activities. A senior fitness room of 900 square feet is shown in the project. It's sort of in our back pocket when the costs come in, that if it can't be there day one, we have a place how we could remove it from the project, and it can be built later, but we wanted to make sure that we had a placeholder for where that would occur. It was mentioned that the restrooms that we wanted to have separate restrooms for the gym and the community rooms. But what we did was we positioned them side by side, back to back, so that we could have a communal door in between that could be opened up for maintenance staff to clean the restrooms back and forth, or to open up if there was a larger event that needed more restrooms that could ebb and flow. So we did make that into the plan. It was also mentioned you wanted some changing rooms for the gymnasium area, and we added those to the project. And then we really need to make sure that we're up with the current social standings as far as general neutral restrooms. And for the aquatic building, the pool building, for the changing rooms for the pool, for the gymnasium, and for the auditorium, there are private restrooms, single occupancy restrooms, unisex restrooms that can be utilized by all. So we have answered that question as well. And then from the site plan standpoint, we actually shifted the building. We shifted the gymnasium, rotated it 30 degrees to be as far away from the power lines as possible. We have to submit our drawings to First Energy for them to determine the radius clearances around those power lines under wind conditions, snow conditions, in all facets of them, to make sure that our gymnasium, the 35-foot high gymnasium, is a good distance apart. Our initial design you saw the last time was pretty close, almost underneath them. They were higher, but it just didn't sit right with us that we were that close. Plus, from a constructability standpoint for Higley and their construction folks, it's safer if we move the building a little further away. So we did that for several reasons. And I think it really improved the floor plan in other ways as well. The kitchen, we wanted it to have access to both the back house service corridor as well as the main concourse, so that it had flexibility to go to either side of the community rooms. And then we talked about not having flat roofs, and so all of our roofs are, the gymnasium has a gabled roof, even if it's a very low pitched. You'll see a flat parapet all around the building, but it has a slow gabled roof, so it sheds water to both sides to the outside of the building. And all of the other locations will slope to one side with scuppers and not have sort of like a bathtub with drains in the middle of the roof. And also, it's very expensive now to do tapered insulation, so we want to make sure that the roofs shed and we taper this, we angle the steel, not have flat steel, and angle the roof pitches. That gets very expensive. And then we did look at the splash ground. It was the lowest on the list from the standpoint of the community center needs and wants for the aquatic center. And so we omitted the splash ground, but some of the features, the water features, we're going to put into the zero depth pool. So we're not really losing that capability, but it was determined by the group that, and from talking to other facilities, that wasn't, it wasn't such a good idea after all, thinking that it's extending the use over time. And just from a security and safety perspective, we looked at removing that. Plus, we could increase the playground, which is important, to make that a little larger, and it would save some costs as well. So that was kind of the summary of what we've heard over the last month. And this is the old plan that you saw last time. We'll flip to the new plan. So it rotated the aquatic and community center where you see that on your monitor. We rotated it 30 degrees, so it is parallel with 271. And then it gives us an opportunity to maximize detention basins along, you see, it's hard to see it, but along in the blue in that area, and in the southwest corner. And so we're looking at how much of that we will actually do and how much will it offset doing underground storage in the main parking lot. I think, and then, from an overall standpoint, this is the way the diagram of the building looks overall from the aerial view. And the aquatic deck, it still has all the main features except for the splash ground, as I mentioned. We haven't changed any of the features. Everything's pretty much the same as the last time you saw. But once again, we really have to look at all the accoutrements to the space as far as family slide, climbing walls, and all of those features, just to make sure, once again, we keep within the budget, because costs keep going up out there that we're seeing in the construction industry, and the pricing of the pool is just the same way. So we're just looking at step-down positions from the master plan scope to say, okay, we need to make sure this falls within the budget that we have. And we have to roll up our sleeve. We have to really make sure that we're keeping up with these cost trends and on the design to keep balancing it out. And right now, over the next week and a half is very critical for our team, is that we are getting pricing from the construction manager who's at risk, Higley, on this project, but our own design team has another estimator working parallel estimates so that we reconcile them and that we feel good that what we represent back to you is as accurate as it can be. And then just some features. You've seen this slide before, the giant slide. We have an option, one of the flumes, the yellow or the green, one of those could be a future element if we don't have it in the project day one. Next slide. These are just images of the tot slides, just options that we're looking at. In the next 3 slides, keep going. We'll just leaf through these. Next. And this is at the end of the corridor that goes along the purple color, the large gym. At the end of the hallway, we have the senior fitness area. It's right on the outside of the building, can have some nice daylight windows. Before it was sort of, when we were studying it in the last month and a half, it was sort of landlocked in the building. We kind of pulled it to the south side. You could have a future patio to do some yoga classes outside and really get some, fresh air and be, get everyone sort of outdoors as well. Go back to that one real quick. So then you see the restrooms, how they all line up back to back, and then the 28s are the 2 private restrooms and changing rooms for the gymnasium. Okay. And then the community rooms, it's pretty much the same since the last time. 4 community rooms can be divided up into 4. We still get about 225 total occupants at tables and chairs, seating. 38 is the pump room, and we just actually got a plan today on the pump room layout and all that entails, a lot of detail to that. It's a multi-level space. There's a pit, actually, that the pumps are down lower with stairs that go down, so it's a multi-story structure, that number 38, the orange shape. And then the pool building with the lockers for the pool occupants, and we have the showers, we have changing rooms. 36s are all these sort of unisex changing rooms with toilets and sinks. We used to have 5. We reduced it down to 3, and they're very convenient. We have 32 is first aid, and then managers and the lifeguard, 34. So that complex has remained pretty much the same, but just now kind of getting into more of the details. We have a kitchen consultant who is on board, and we should this week have their first pass at concession stand layouts and the kitchen layout. And then just some views we have on the table here. We have many materials, but we have brick, 3 different colors. We have a darker brick. We have a lighter, brighter brick that you see that's kind of a reddish color. And then we have corrugated metal, which is going to be a kind of a medium color, and our storefront windows and frames will be aluminum, and we have aluminum metal panels. So we're just now kind of starting to put materials together, keep flipping through, that show, and a lot of these images are very familiar. We really have stuck to our original scheme and keep advancing it that way. These show all the windows in the main concourse, which will really be seamless to views to the pool deck. And to the left here is the concession window, and the lifeguard station is right there, and then the community rooms and the gym you see in the distance. And then the service side on the left is the mechanical room, and then to the right of that we have a vestibule. That's the service entrance for bringing in supplies, materials, take garbage out. And then you see 3 slot windows that go along that long facade. That's that back corridor behind the community room. Then you see right there is those senior fitness area with windows, and we'll have some nice landscaping around that. And then the gym is behind it. We have eliminated the windows on the south side because we don't want to have bright sun coming in those windows and on the courts. And the other windows to the right that you see there will be spandrel windows. They'll look like windows, but you will not. It'll be such that the light will not go through them, because we definitely don't want that bright sun on the courts. So that's kind of where we stand in a quick summary, and just wanted to see if we've addressed some of the comments from last time, and then if there are any new thoughts that you have for us.
Mr. DeJohn.
Did you say that total of all the community room will handle 225 people?
At tables and chairs, like at a reception, it can handle up to 500 people with just seats, chairs in rows like this kind of city.
Okay, so table and chairs. Does anybody know how much our current community room can hold with tables and chairs?
130.
150.
No, it's lower than that. Uh-uh. No, it's like 130.
Close to 190, like for the taste of Italy, with the shoehorn, we get about 150. You know, it's tight, but
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Chris is talking about is not that tightness. I think it's a standard number. So we probably could, if we want to do something along those same lines, get more people in there.
Get more, okay, thank you. And just one other question. Did you keep the pool away from the power lines? Was that your intent there?
We're keeping the gymnasium away from the power lines. It's the tallest structure, and we rotated it 30 degrees, so it was parallel with the power lines instead of angled towards it. And that was the safety clearance that we wanted to make sure that we're providing for the construction workers as well. That because there's extra cost needed to protect the workers if it's close to those power lines, and we just want to move it as far away as possible, the gymnasium. The pools have never been a subject of being close to the power lines. It was always the gym or the structure.
The reason I'm asking is, could you have designed this so the building was against the residential area?
We've tried it in many different ways, and for reasons of parking or size of pool deck that you can get, we provided, this is a wedge-shaped site, it's a triangular-shaped site. We put the building and the aquatics in the largest, widest portion of the property. So we definitely wanted to, not have the park, you see, if you put the building against the residences, then you have the pool, then you have the parking. And so then you park and you can't get to the community center. It's just a tripod of three things that have to work in concert. And so this was the best layout that worked out.
Madam President, if I could.
Mayor,
No,
go ahead.
One of the main reasons was to shield the pool from 271 too, from the noise and the
Yeah.
debris. That's why the building, one of the reasons the building is where it is.
Mr. Balistreo.
Did the original plan have the rec offices here? And now, in my understanding, they're not going to be here. That would be a future consideration?
No, they are here. They've always been in the plan.
Okay, what was that schematic you showed? It said future site, right next to the gym?
Oh, extra for fitness
that
center, for the
18?
senior fitness center.
Future patio?
Oh. they're
No,
just
no, go back next.
Is it on a site plan or something?
Where it's circled, I think you have it marked as 18.
That's the canopy of the drop-off canopy, so that's.
Okay,
He did say, Mike, that there's an office in there that is,
Oh, yeah.
there's Oh.
space for an additional office.
oh, an office?
Yeah,
a s-
Okay,
a
okay,
s-
my
a single-
misunderstanding
a
then.
single person, yeah.
Okay,
In case staff ever increases.
okay.
And there's we've designed an open office sort of concept in the rec department. Plus, there's a conference room that if ever it needed to change to be an office or something else, it could be as well. It's good to have some
Yeah, I see
soft
that.
space included.
Okay, thank you.
We also had, very important, we've had three things happen. We had the hazardous material survey done of the community center and of the small building on the ball fields. And the materials that it contains, nothing needs to be abated. The buildings can be just demolished. So that's good news. That has saved, some cost and some time. The subsurface geotechnical surveys indicated the soils are adequate for standard and usual spread footings for the project, so there's no deep foundations is necessary. And the site survey that we got a week ago has determined that we will need to go in front of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the setback of the building to Marsol. It's about 10 foot or so. We're trying to determine that over the property line, or over where it could be or should be. And the playground also is, we want that as north as possible. So we'd like to go to there on those two matters to get an appeal for those two items. We did move the building down some to be equal to where the current baseball field restroom building is, but that does not set a precedent. Even though that's there and that setback was granted, we still have to, of course, comply to the zoning codes. So we will be, we have a series of meetings coming up with the Architecture Review Board, Planning Commission, and BZA all in December. And we will be in front of you a couple times as well, preliminary review and final review of the project for schematic design and the costs.
Chris, I had a couple questions for you.
Sure.
Did you have an opportunity to talk to Euclid Creek or Chagrin
Yeah,
at all?
If someone else can speak.
Wait,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, we had a meeting, Elizabeth was there. Kristen was on the phone as well, so they were both there, and we're looking at ways in which we can help out, with that landscaping, getting some
Perfect.
grants for trees, and if there's any way that we can do something. I guess they said, if it's something above and beyond what the scope is now, outside of what's in our codes, then there's potentially grant money for it. But anything that's written as standard procedure, there's not going
Okay.
to be any money for it.
Good, I didn't want that to go, without us talking to her first before we moved on. Okay, and then I wanted to know how much of a cost savings from not doing the splash ground that we're saving?
There's that one item was about a $500,000 item.
Okay.
Significant.
And then are we going to consider the little service rooms in each of the little community rooms? We had talked about that somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I don't think we are at this time. We are waiting for the, the kitchen consultant is now looking at the whole project and looking at these spaces. And we will bring up to them as we, advance or see their first designs, whether anything within each of those community rooms is necessary. The more that we put in those rooms, it decentralizes supplies, it adds some cost, and it takes away square footage from those rooms. We are trying to shy away from that unless there is someone has a strong need that really feels like that would be important. But right now, we're not showing that.
Okay, and then the windows off the back end, are they really that small, or they just look small?
Although on the
Yeah,
south
on
or
the back,
they, we're going to be advancing all the details and design here in the next phase to look at those. But yeah, we're keeping them fairly nominal in size because it's a corridor. And quite frankly, we want to spend the dollars on the high impact spaces, which is the entry, the lobby, the concourse facing the pool deck. But we certainly want to make sure that that facade is attractive with landscape and with the, windows. But we aren't planning on adding a whole lot of windows on that side, because there's just not the program components that drive it.
so those aren't the back, if you can flip forward. or up-
That rendering?
No, towards, or back, that,
Yeah.
so that's a hallway?
Yeah, that's
Right
the
there.
back corridor, so we want to
Service hallway,
get some,
okay.
some daylight in, but we're really not trying to spend a lot of money there. The doors to the left of that and that vestibule, that's where you bring in materials and supplies and take trash out. And then the doors to the left are the mechanical room.
Right, okay.
So,
And then my last question are those bathrooms, again. The bathrooms over by the gymnasium to separate them from the service, or from the community rooms. I couldn't see them on here.
yeah, they're up right above, Christopher, go to the larger draw. You go down to the below, yeah, there you go. So those are so we have restrooms for the gymnasium, which are the 23s. You enter from the right side into it. And then 6s, the ones to the left, are for the community center. So they both have separate entrances, but yet potentially they can connect inside if we, as we advance the design. Because I think it would be good for cleaning staff, maintenance staff to be able to just open a door and then go into the rest of the restrooms and clean instead of going around. It would be convenient. And if there's some large event with, in the gymnasium, we can have up to 720 people in that gymnasium, and they need more restrooms. We can open up the door and they can use all of them.
So 9 and 24 is?
That's storage.
The storage, got it, okay.
We combined gym
Perfect.
storage and the community center storage into one room.
Perfect, okay, thank you. Does any other member have any, Mr. Balstraya?
Chris, just one more quick question. Do you have any idea, once this is finalized, and I'm sure you want to get going as soon as possible, when the current community center will be raised? I imagine that would be your first step in this project.
We're looking for the end of the first quarter, like March, April 1st, let's consider, you know, that's kind of the timeframe, maybe a little sooner.
Okay, thank you. People have asked.
Yeah.
Mr., I'm sorry, Mr., oh my God. Monaco.
Monaco. I know I'm new here.
No, I didn't think you were coming tonight. I'm sorry.
That's okay, no problem. You may already answer this question, but years ago, we received some funding for doing the exterior property of the city hall and doing some pervious material with some landscaping. And I know that Chagrin Watershed Partners, they contributed some funds for that. Is there a possibility we could do that also for this project?
Yeah, it certainly is a possibility, but, you know, our engineers, we discussed it recently, and there was, and I can't speak specifically about it, but we're studying it right now. But one of the issues is when you create this impervious paving, you have to make sure you have the correct sub-base and drainage still, and it's a, you know, expensive system, and then you have to make sure it works. And I think our team was, and maybe Dan, there's something you can add, but I think our team was shying away from doing that and doing the storage tanks and then doing the, you know, trying to do some detention swales and stuff to, you know, sort of do that, making more pervious areas to run it off. So sometimes it'll be filled up and sometimes it'll be dry, but really trying to do it that way instead.
Okay, thanks.
Does any member have any further questions or comments?
Great.
All right, thank you, Mr. Stott. Thank you for all the updates.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria, second by Mrs. Tressi. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, it is almost 7 PM. I will adjourn this meeting.
Looks nice.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to this evening's November 8th council meeting of the City of Mayfield Heights. I would like to welcome Mayor DeSico back with us. We're glad you're doing better. Shanisha, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balstria,
Present.
Mr. DeJohn,
Here.
Mr. Mano,
Here.
Mr. Monaco,
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Here.
Mrs. Snyder,
Here.
Mrs. Teresi.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is the approval of the minutes from the council meeting October 25th, 2021. I hope everyone has had time to read them over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mr. Balestria. Are there any suggested changes or deletions to those minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. These minutes have been approved as written. We will now move to correspondence and announcements. Are there any correspondence or announcements from council? Mr. Balestria.
I would, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to thank the voters for their votes of confidence in me for the next 4 years. The only promise I will make is to work hard for the betterment of our great city. I would also like to congratulate my colleagues who won for council and those on the school board as well, and also congratulate those who didn't come out victorious for their willingness to serve both for city council as well as our great school. So thank you to the residents of Mayfield Heights.
Thank you. Are there any other further comments? Okay. And before we move to reports of officers and the mayor, I'm going to go ahead and ask at this time to deviate from the original agenda and make a motion to take Resolution 2021-74 off the table and place it on tonight's agenda.
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mrs. Teresi. Roll call on the motion to remove from the table, place on the agenda, and deviate it from the regular meeting.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Monaco,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Like the family, or we'll do the resolution first, and I'll call the family up. Yeah, resolution.
Move to approve it first.
Yeah. Resolution 2021-74, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2021-74, a resolution expressing commendation and sincere appreciation posthumously to Donna R. Finney for service rendered for and on behalf of the citizens of the city of Mayfield Heights, Ohio, as a member of City Council and as an outstanding resident of the city of Mayfield Heights.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria,
Second.
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Here, DeSico, do you want to read? Oh, we can do- Yeah. If the family would like to come up to the dais, please do so.
If you guys like to, you can gather right up here. All right, guys. All right, as Mr. Murphy said, Resolution 2021-74, resolution expressing commendation and sincere appreciation posthumously to Donna R. Finney for service rendered for and on behalf of the citizens of the city of Mayfield Heights, Ohio, as a member of City Council and as an outstanding resident of the city of Mayfield Heights. Whereas Donna R. Finney served as a member of council of the city of Mayfield Heights from January 1st, 2006 through December 31st, 2013, and again from January 1st, 2016 to September 9th, 2021. And whereas Donna R. Finney also served as president of council in 2018 and 2019. I might have to have Diane finish this. Whereas in her capacity as a council member, Donna R. Finney served on numerous council committees, including the Safety and Transportation Committee, the Legislative Committee, and the Building Committee, as well as council representative to the Mayfield Union Cemetery Board of Trustees. And whereas a member of City Council, and through her participation on council committees, Donna R. Finney helped to establish many policies and helped to enact numerous and diverse pieces of legislation aimed at the betterment of the community for its residents and the betterment of the city's government for all those affected thereby. And whereas at council meetings, she was known to adhere to the philosophy of cut to the chase and quit wasting time. And whereas Donna R. Finney's acute and persuasive reasoning was a great benefit to all members of council in dealing with the issues. And whereas, in addition to her contributions to council, Donna R. Finney's involvement as a resident of the city of Mayfield Heights included service as a member of the Mayfield City School Board of Education, participation in numerous other projects and organizations aimed at improving the community, and in particular, serving the youth of the community through involvement with school-related projects and campaigns. And whereas Donna R. Finney sadly passed away on September 9th, 2021, and whereas Donna R. Finney's contributions to the city and to its government have been praiseworthy and meritorious, that it is the desire of the mayor and council to honor Donna R. Finney posthumously by this resolution, which represents the sincere appreciation, gratitude, and respect of council, the mayor, and the entire administration of the city of Mayfield Heights city government. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Mayfield Heights, Cuyahoga County, State of Ohio, that this council, on behalf of itself, the mayor, and the entire administration, express its sincere gratitude and appreciation to the family of Donna R. Finney for her dedicated and valuable service to the City of Mayfield Heights as a public official, as an outstanding resident, and its gratitude for their support of her service and its condolences upon her passing. Section 2 is that the mayor, Anthony DeSico, be and he is hereby requested to cause a fully executed duplicate of this resolution to be presented to the family of Donna R. Finney at an appropriate occasion, which is tonight. And the clerk of council be authorized and directed to file the original in the journals of council, so that this resolution shall be in force and effect from and after the earliest time allowed by law, passed November 8th, 2021. Our condolences.
Thank you.
She will be missed.
You made it.
Okay. Can we have a roll call on the motion to approve?
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Monaco,
Yes.
Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this resolution has now been adopted. Okay. Now, we will move to, next are the reports of the officers, starting with the mayor, if you can get to that.
Gee, thanks.
Sorry.
Make a motion to move it to the last thing on the agenda. No, I'm just kidding. Good evening. Thanks for everybody attending tonight's meeting. I'd just like to reach out to everyone who expressed their condolences on the passing of my parents. It was a great support to me and my family, so I would like to thank everybody there. And for all the good, well wishes, I should say, on a recovery. So I'm getting there. Not quite 100%, but I'm getting there. And I'd like to congratulate Council members Susan Sabetta, Mike Balestrea, Don Mano, and Bob DeJohn on their reelection, and welcome Nino back, who I've worked with before. Look forward to working again.
Thank you.
I hope everybody had a chance to see the new pool plans and community center plans. They're amazing. I think the residents are going to be very happy. And we have some new businesses opening. Barking Broadway, which is 5823 Mayfield Road. Guitar Center and Ross Dress for Less is going in Golden Gate. Excuse me. And BB Bop on Som Center Road across from Eastgate. And plans are in the works for an electric car charging station in Eastgate, so we're working on that. And tomorrow I have the honor of swearing in a new firefighter paramedic. We welcome Steve Silvestro to the city, and he comes with us with quite a bit of experience from other municipalities, so we welcome him. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any questions for the mayor? Okay, thank you. Law Director, Mr. Murphy.
Thanks for not asking any questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Director of Finance, Mrs. Fagan.
I have no report this evening either.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we'll move to reports of committees, commissions, and boards, starting with the Building Committee. Mrs. Tracy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no report this evening.
Okay. Finance and Audit Committee,
Madam
Mr. Balestrea. Oh, I'm sorry. Back up, Mr. DeJohn.
Mrs. Teresi, a couple of things. I did get a call from a resident about downspouts not being connected to storm sewers, and I do have an email into Mr. Jameson, who's out of town. And also, I have a complaint from a resident on Parker about light pollution. The neighbor, as we know, those lots are small, and there is the doorways are near windows, and with the advent of LED lights, these lights are really shining into her windows, and I guess there's nothing we can do according to our building department because we don't have any legislation on the books. So I am looking into creating some legislation and would appreciate your help on that.
No
Thank
problem. You could have a joint meeting
Yeah.
with legislation.
Legislative and a Building Committee meeting. We can do that.
That's fine.
So Mr. Mano, Mr. Monaco, Mrs. Tracy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, we had no meeting, so I have no report at this time.
Finance and Audit Committee, Mr. Balestrea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a report. Finance met November 4th. As a result, ordinance 2021-32, which is on the table, should be taken off the table this evening and voted upon. There may be some additional legislation as an addendum to that ordinance. As soon as we get some information from our finance director, I will explain that when we discuss the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Public Works and Service, Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. We do have a Public Works and Service Committee this Wednesday at 7 p.m. in the council chambers. We will be discussing our dye testing, and Mr. Gerson will be there with Mr. Bells. Mr. Bells is an expert, and I encourage all the residents in the city of Mayfield Heights to come to this meeting if you've had flooding. This will be a very informative meeting, and hopefully from here we'll develop some type of program for flooding houses in the city of Mayfield Heights. And also, I just need to ask Mr. Gerson a question. I did get a call from a resident about patching on Woodhawk, and that resident wanted to make sure that that patching will not be in any way part of the rating of the street. Will it affect the rating of the street?
Mr. Gerson, you can approach the podium.
Thank you, Dan Gerson, City Engineer. I assume the patching is probably being done by the Service Department. I'm not necessarily aware, but generally speaking, we would see patching that would basically show damage to the street, and we'd be able to note that, so it wouldn't affect it, making it go up,
Okay,
if anything at all.
thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any, oh, Mr. Gerson.
If I could, I think that Public Works Committee meeting's at 6:30, based on the resident meeting, if we could just double check that.
Yeah, you got 6:30.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. 6:30 noted for that meeting on Wednesday. Okay. Recreation and Parks Committee, Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Breakfast with Santa will be held on December 11th at the Dijon Community Center. Tickets are $7 per person and includes pancakes and sausage, visits with Santa and a picture, craft fair, train ride, and more. Sessions will be at 9 a.m., 9:45 a.m., and 10 a.m. Space is limited. For more information or to register, please contact the Recreation Department at 440-442-2627. That's my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Mano? Safety and Transportation, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report.
Board of Zoning Appeals, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you again, Madam President. The Board of Zoning will not be meeting tomorrow. We have no agenda and no applicants. Thank you.
Thank you. And Planning Commission, Mr. Balistreo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Planning Commission met last Monday, November the 1st. Council was copied on the minutes, and as a result, we have one motion on the agenda this evening. That's my report.
Thank you. All right. Now we will move to the comments from the public. We will move to public portion where pursuant to the code, each person will be allotted 5 minutes to speak, with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for the entire public portion. If you are here tonight in connection with an agenda item, this is your opportunity to approach the podium, state your name and address to council. At this time, is there anybody that would like to be heard? Come up.
Hello, my name's Erin Ledbetter with Oleo Development Group, representing Raising Cane's. My address is 1062 Ridge Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43215. So the agenda item that we have tonight is a canopy. This is just going to be a small structure over the second drive-through window. In our original plans, we have a canopy similar that's at the rear of the drive-through over the order boards. The canopy tonight will just be smaller and, like I said, over the second drive-through window. The purpose of the canopy is to protect the crew members that are expediting food from that second window to the cars in the two drive-through lanes. There will be fans, heaters, lights installed into the canopy. The canopy will be freestanding, but it will be flashed to the building, so there'll be some kind of material in between the canopy and the wall so that snow, rain, water can't get through. Really, this is kind of a product of Raising Cane's trying to give the best drive-through experience that they can. Again, expediting food from the window to the cars in the two drive-through lanes is really important for speed in the drive-through line, and this canopy allows those crew members to be out in any climate. So that is our agenda item. Thanks.
Thank you. When it comes before us, if council has any questions, we might call you back.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to be heard this evening? Okay, it is 7:20. I will close the public portion, and we will move to resolutions. The next three resolutions, I will be asking Councilwoman Teresi to read them.
Oh. You're not going to abstain?
Phone is ringing.
These signature phones.
I am.
Are we ready? We'll begin with Resolution 2021-86. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2021-86, a resolution accepting a quotation for medical and prescription group health insurance from Medical Mutual of Ohio through the Ohio Government Benefit Cooperative, OGBC, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, seconded by Mr. Monaco. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano. Yes. Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain.
Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second.
second by Mr. Balestrea. Discussion. Ms. Augustine, do you have anything you'd like to say to the council?
I did send the memo out with the information, so if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any of council have a question?
Okay with it?
I have one question. Can you tell me what the cost is to belong to the OGBC? It's a monthly cost?
Do we have Kim Stika here from Fidelity Group, so she might have that information, or Karen.
Not Karen.
It's just the monthly rates. That's the only thing that you pay. There isn't actually an additional fee on top of that. So it's very typical to any other insurance program that you would be with. It's just the monthly rates.
The monthly insurance rates?
Yeah.
Nothing additional?
Nothing additional.
Goes to belong to that organization?
Correct. Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano. Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain.
Resolution 2021-86 has been adopted. We'll move on to Resolution 2021-87. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2021-87, a resolution accepting a quotation for dental insurance from Cigna Dental Company and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano.
Second.
Second by Mr. Monaco. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano. Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. Discussion? Any questions on the? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Mano. Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain.
Resolution 2021-87 has been adopted. We'll move on to 2021-88. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2021-88, a resolution accepting a quotation for vision insurance from iMed Vision Insurance and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Thank you. Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, seconded by Mr. Monaco. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano. Mr. Balstraya.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain.
Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second?
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Discussion. Any questions, comments? Seeing none. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Balstraya.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain.
Resolution 2021-88 has been adopted.
Okay. Resolution 2021-89. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2021-89, a resolution authorizing an engineering services agreement with Glass, Pyle, Schomer, Burns, and DeHaven, Inc., DBA GPD Group, 5595 Transportation Boulevard, Suite 100, Cleveland, Ohio 44125, for the purpose of providing the City of Mayfield Heights with necessary engineering services and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balstraya, second by Mrs. Tressi. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Balstraya.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Oh, no, it's discussion, I'm sorry. This is a new contract giving the city engineer, GPD Group, the opportunity to provide engineering services to our city. The contract will go from January 1, 22 through December 31st, 2023. Mr. Gerson's letter explains that the retainer fee of $27,000 will be paid monthly, will stay, and the contract will go for 2 years. He also stated that there is a slight increase in the contract rates. You should have all received the attached information. At this time, does anyone have any further comments or questions?
No, just a comment.
DeJohn.
I saw Mr. Gerson's letter to the mayor, and it says it's been a pleasure to have served as city engineer for the past 5 years. We have been able to establish some great relationships with the city staff and feel that we have a good working relationship with them. And I hope that includes the council too, that we're part of that good relationship, so that's the only comment.
Would hope so.
He wants to comment.
Since
Mr.
we're approving
Gerson.
this, so I feel left out of this letter. so.
Eliminate
I
discussion.
apologize for leaving you out. Yeah, I do enjoy a good relationship with everybody. I hope so, and y'all have my cell phone. Call me anytime, and sometimes it takes a day or so to get back, but I try to get back as soon as I could and try to give you good guidance. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Are there any further comments, questions, accolades? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Teresi, second by
Second?
Mrs. Sabetta. Okay, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balstraya.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, Resolution 2021-89 has been approved. Okay, we're moving to ordinances, and at this time, I want to have a motion to remove ordinance 2021-32 from the table.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balstraya. Second.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to be added to the agenda.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balstraya.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. 2021-32, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2021, ordinance number 2021-32, an ordinance providing for the organization of certain administrative departments and fixing the salaries and other benefits of certain officers and employees therein, and declaring an emergency.
Is there a
It's been read 3 times.
So I need is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Balestra,
Second.
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Discussion. Mr. Balestra.
Yes, this was originally tabled, and we had an additional finance committee. Some members of council had some additional questions with regards to the salary ordinance. The mayor was present. All our questions seemed to be answered at the meeting. The mayor chimed in with some concerns that we had. I felt those were answered satisfactorily. And the only thing that I would add to this ordinance is that we had asked Mrs. Fagan to check into the boards and commissions. We did up the salaries, I should say the stipends a little bit for our boards and commissions, but wanted to change the ordinance to read that those members of those commissions and boards would be paid on a monthly basis, I guess in similarity to many other communities that pay by the month. Why it was changed by the meeting, instead of monthly as we do. And so she was going to check into why that was changed for our particular city. Then we'll put an addendum, I think, to this ordinance to change that. We can approve it as is with the addendum to this ordinance. That way, if there's folks that are habitually absent or not excused, they just will not be reimbursed for their non-attendance. So it would be up to the, I think we'll write the legislation, so it would be the chair of that commission or board. If somebody was medically excused or on vacation, they would still be reimbursed with a valid excuse. But with an invalid excuse, they would not receive any remuneration from the city.
Great, thank you for
Okay.
doing that.
I can.
Mrs.
Thank
Fagan.
you. I did receive some preliminary responses from PERS late this afternoon. It was after 5 o'clock, actually. But the response just raised some more questions on my end. So as soon as I get all those questions answered, I will get back to all of council on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Tracy.
Mr. Balestria, I know when we had the meeting and we discussed this about the meetings for the boards, and we said sickness. Did we say anything about business travel? I don't know if we have anyone on the boards
I
that
mean, we
might be
could,
away.
once that comes up, we could decide what would be an excused,
Right,
you know,
okay.
absence.
I know
Right
you
now, the
mentioned
only
the
thing
two
that comes to my
things.
mind, if somebody's on a valid vacation or medical reason, surgery, illness, or whatever, but I'm sure there could be some other excused absences, but we're going to leave that up to the chairs.
Thanks.
I did have a question about, I didn't see that this was part of the meeting, but I have a question. Do they do annual performance reviews?
Not every department has a formal review process. Well, they have a formal review. I know in my department we do. We sit down, we talk to each other, but not every department has that. But every department also has to follow their collective bargaining agreement as to whether or not they're performing to standards.
So within the non-union employees, can we see that we start having these performance reviews? Possibly?
That's certainly something absolutely we can look into.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions, Mrs. Tracy?
No, that's a great idea. I know that most companies, before they give an annual review, have you do a performance review about yourself, and then you discuss that with your boss and see if the notes compare in order to receive an increase in your salary. It's normally not just given arbitrarily or, because you have extra duties. It's typically done at review time, and most companies do a performance review. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Mr. DeJohn.
Yes, I mentioned this in the committee meeting. I would like to see the these different groups separated out. I want to see non-union groups separated from, you know, the police and the fire. Basically, what happens is the police, the fire, and the service come in, and their negotiators come in, and they negotiate this contract, and then everyone across the city gets it. So I would like to see these as separate groups. I'd like to see administrative employees separated from the police and the fire. Because I just feel real uncomfortable. Again, you know, we're told this is the best we can do, and then we have to vote yes for it, essentially. And it just doesn't make any sense to me that everybody across the board would get the same raise. Just my opinion. I don't know if anybody else has a comment about it, but just my opinion.
Mr. Mano?
I've felt the same way about that for a long time. I think that raises should be given on performance, and when you're just part of a large group, whether you're a good performer or not, you're going to get the raise. I just think that raises should be given on merit and performance. So by separating them out, it gives you the opportunity to do that.
Okay. All right, I think you heard what we'd like to see. Mr. Balestrea?
I think, again, that's something that we wouldn't legislate, but that would be administrative if I'm not, I think we'd be overstepping our bounds, but that would be something that we, you know, they could hear from the council, the mayor and the finance director can hear from the council that this would be something we would be comfortable with, and then incorporate that into some executive plan. And I don't think we would be right in putting that into legislation.
No, it's
You know,
just,
that
I
they
think
would
just,
we require them to have reviews. That would be required of the individual directors.
We did briefly speak about separating it, though.
Yes.
We did say that we would discuss it as it is, as it stands today with the amendment, but then we would, in a legislative meeting, discuss separating this after this
Okay.
ordinance is accepted. So we can still go back and do that.
okay, we can put that on the legislative committee meeting, along with what the other topics. They're still out there.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes,
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
I abstain. I was not involved in the process, and I'm really not that familiar with these ordinances.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Okay, this ordinance has been adopted. Moving to ordinance 2021-89, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's 2021.
35.
Okay,
35.
35. Ordinance number 2021-35, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Henderson, Schmidlin, and McGarry Company, LPA, to provide legal services from January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Monaco, second by Mr. Balestrea. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
yes,
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Is there a motion, oh my God, is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. DeJohn and second by Mrs. Sabetta. We were all copied by an email from the law director stating that his services and salary would remain the same for the new contract. Does any member of council have any questions or comments? No? All right. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
yes,
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. This ordinance has now been approved. We will now move down to motions. Motion B, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to approve the site plan for Canopy addition over the second drive-through lane on the new building for Raising Cane's at 5880 Mayfield Road, contingent upon Architectural Board of Review approval.
Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mrs. Tressi. This was a 4-0 vote by the Planning Commission in favor of granting the canopy to Raising Cane's for the drive-through. Mr. Balestra, is there anything you would like to add to this?
No, you heard from the applicant, and I have the drawings. I don't know if council was copied on the drawings, if anyone would like to see them. It's a little exaggerated on the drawing. It's only I think it was a 20 by 20, if I'm right, Aaron. And it looks like a really nice addition to the building. It was a unanimous decision, as Mrs. Snyder has stated, and it still needs ABR approval. So we can approve it contingent upon the ABR approval tonight.
Okay. Are there any questions from council? Okay, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Balstria.
Yes?
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this motion has now been approved. Thank you. We'll now move to new business from, or comments from council. Is there any new business from council? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Tressi,
Second.
second by Mrs. Sabetta. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned. Have a good evening.